Okay, we got cut off unexpectedly, and I'm having trouble getting things to upload. I don't know if it's the weather or the internet or what combination, but I'm going to read about 15 more minutes, and I'm going to have to start with page 168. How about 169? And she's talking about how she used to be. Start 169, the first full paragraph. Now I look back at that Annie as an amusing but very superficial girl who has nothing to do with the Annie of today. Peter said quite rightly about me. If ever I saw you, you were surrounded, always surrounded by two or more boys and a whole troop of girls. You were always laughing and always the center of everything. What is left of this girl? Oh, don't worry, I haven't forgotten how to laugh or answer back readily. I'm just as good, if not better, at criticizing people, and I can still flirt if I wish. That's not it, though. I'd like that sort of life again for an evening, a few days, or even a week. The life which seems so carefree and gay. But at the end of that week, I should be dead beat and would be only too thankful to listen to anyone who began to talk about something sensible. I don't want followers, but people, friends, admirers who fall not for a flattering smile, but for what one does and for one's character. I know quite well that the circle around me would be much smaller, but what does that matter as long as one still keeps a few sincere friends? Yet I wasn't entirely happy in 1942 in spite of everything. I often felt deserted, but because I was on the go the whole day long, I didn't think about it and enjoyed myself as much as I could. Consciously or unconsciously, I tried to drive away the emptiness I felt with jokes and pranks. Now I think seriously about life and what I have to do. One period of my life is over forever. The carefree school days are gone, never to return. I don't even long for them anymore. I have outgrown them. I can't just only enjoy myself as my serious side is always there. I look upon my life up till the new year, as it were, through a powerful magnifying glass. The sunny life at home, then coming here in 1942, the sudden change, the quarrels, the bickerings, I couldn't understand it. I was taken by surprise, and the only way I could keep up some bearing was by being impertinent. That means kind of smarty pants and talking back and kind of having a mouth on her. The first half of 1943, my fits of crying, the loneliness, how I slowly began to see all my faults and shortcomings, which are so great and which seem much greater then. During the day, I deliberately talked about anything and everything that was farthest from my thoughts, tried to draw Pym to me, but couldn't. Alone, I had to face the difficult task of changing myself to stop the everlasting reproachers, which were so oppressive and which reduced me to such terrible despondency. Things improved slightly in the second half of the year. I became a young woman and was treated more like a grown-up. I started to think and write stories and came to the conclusion that the others no longer had the right to throw me about like an India rubber ball. I wanted to change in accordance with my own desires, but one thing that struck me even more was when I realized that even Daddy would never become my confidant over everything. I didn't want to trust anyone but myself anymore. At the beginning of the new year, the second great change, my dream, and with it I discovered my longing not for a girlfriend but for a boyfriend. I also discovered my inward happiness and my defensive armor of superficiality and gaiety. In due time, I quieted down and discovered my boundless desire for all that is beautiful and good. And in the evening, when I lie in bed and in my prayer with the words, I thank you, God, for all that is good and dear and beautiful, I am filled with joy. Then I think about the good of going into hiding, of my health, and with my whole being of the dearness of Peter, of which is still embryonic, which means very small and developing, and impressionable, and which we neither of us dare to name or touch, of that which will come sometime, love, the future, happiness, and of the beauty which exists in the world, nature, beauty, and all that is exquisite and fine. I don't think then of all the misery, but the beauty that still remains. This is one of the things that Mummy and I are so entirely different about. Her counsel when one feels melancholy or kind of sad is, think of all the misery in the world and be thankful that you are not sharing in it. My advice is, go outside to the fields, enjoy nature and the sunshine. Go out and try to recapture happiness in yourself and in God. Think of all the beauty that's still left in and around you and be happy. I don't see how Mummy's idea can be right, because then how are you supposed to behave if you go through the misery yourself? Then you are lost. On the contrary, I found that there is always some beauty left in nature, sunshine, freedom, in yourself. These can all help you. Look at these things, then you find yourself again in God, and then you regain your balance. And whoever is happy will make others happy too. He who has the courage and faith will never perish in misery. Yours, Annie. So it sounds like she's growing up some, right? And her ideas are becoming more mature. I imagine if you had to live in hiding and fear for your life every day and your safety and of those that you love and yourself, you might become more mature on some things. Sunday, March the 12th, 1944. Dear Kitty, I can't seem to sit still lately. I run upstairs and down and then back again. I love talking to Peter, but I'm always afraid of being a nuisance. He has told me a bit about the past, about his parents, and about himself. It's not half enough, though, and I ask myself why it is that. I always long for more. He used to think I was unbearable, and I returned the compliment. Now I have changed my opinion. Has he changed his too? I think so. Still, it doesn't necessarily mean that we should become great friends, although as far as I'm concerned, it would make the time here much more bearable. But still, I won't get myself upset about it. I see quite a lot of him, and there's no need to make you unhappy about it too, Kitty, just because I feel so miserable. On Sunday afternoon, I felt in such a whirl after hearing a whole lot of sad news that I went and lay down on my divan for a sleep. I only wanted to sleep to stop myself thinking. I slept till 4 o'clock, then I had to go into the living room. I found it difficult to answer all Mummy's questions and think of some little excuse to tell Daddy as an explanation for my long sleep. I resorted to a headache, which wasn't a lie, as I had one, but inside. Ordinary people, ordinary girls. Teenagers like myself will think I'm a bit cracked with all my self-pity. Yes, that's what it is, but I pour out my heart to you. Then for the rest of the day, I'm as impudent, gay, and self-confident as I can be in order to avoid questions and getting on my own nerves. Margot is very sweet and would like me to trust her, but still I can't tell her everything. She's a darling, she's good and pretty, but she lacks the nonchalance for conducting deep discussions. She takes me so seriously, much too seriously, and then thinks about her queer little sister for a long time afterwards, looking searchingly at me at every word I say, and keeps on thinking, is this just a joke, or does she really mean it? I think that's because we are together the whole day long, and that if I trusted someone completely, then I shouldn't want them hanging around me all the time. When shall I finally untangle my thoughts? When shall I find peace and rest within myself again? Yours, Annie. Tuesday, March the 14th, 1844. Dear Kitty, perhaps it would be entertaining for you, though not in the least for me, to hear that what we are going to eat today. As the chairwoman is at work downstairs, I'm sitting on the Vendôme's table at the moment. I have a handkerchief soaked in some good scent bought before we came here over my mouth and held against my nose. You won't gather much from this, so let's begin at the beginning. The people from whom we obtained The people from whom we obtained food coupons have been caught, so we just have our 5 ration cards and no extra coupons, and no fats. As both Meep and Kufus are ill, Ellie hasn't had time to do any shopping, so the atmosphere is dreary and dejected, and so is the food. From tomorrow, we shall not have a scrap of fat, butter, or margarine left. We can't have fried potatoes to save bread for breakfast any longer, so we have porridge instead, and as Mrs. Van Don thinks we're starving, we have brought some full cream milk under the counter, kind of got about in a way you're not supposed to do it. Our supper today consists of a hash made from kale, which has been preserved in a barrel. Hence the precautionary measure with the handkerchief. It's incredible how kale can stink when it's a year old. The smell in the room is a mixture of bad plums, strong preservatives, and rotten eggs. Ugh! The mere thought of eating that muck makes me feel sick. Add to this, our potatoes are suffering from such peculiar diseases that out of two buckets of pommes de terre, one whole one ends up on the stove. We amuse ourselves by searching for all the different kinds of diseases and have come to the conclusion that they range from cancer and smallpox to measles. Oh no, it's no joke to be in hiding during the 4th year of the war. If only the whole rotten business was over. Can you imagine being in hiding for 4 years during the 4th year of the war? Quite honestly, I wouldn't care so much about the food if only it were more pleasant here in other ways. There's the rub. This tedious existence is beginning to make us all touchy. The following are the views of the 5 grown-ups on the present situation. Mrs. Von Don, the job as queen of the kitchen lost its attraction a long time ago. It's dull to sit and do nothing, so I should go back to my cooking again. Still, I have to complain that it's impossible to cook without any fats, and all these nasty smells make me sick. Nothing but ingratitude and rude remarks do I get in return for my services. I am always the black sheep, always the guilty one. Moreover, according to me, very little progress is being made in the war. In the end, the Germans will still win. I'm afraid we're going to starve, and if I'm in a bad mood, I scold everyone. Mr. Von Don, how is he reacting? I must smoke and smoke and smoke. And then the food, the political situation. Curly's moods don't seem so bad. Curly is a darling wife. But if he hasn't anything to smoke, then nothing is right, and this is what one hears. I'm getting ill. We don't live well enough. I must have meat. Frightfully stupid person, my Curly. So then he talks about his wife badly if he's in a bad mood. After this, a terrible quarrel is sure to follow. Mrs. Frank, food is not very important, but I would love a slice of rye bread now. I feel so terribly hungry. If I were Mrs. Von Don, I would have to put a stop to Mr. Von Don's everlasting smoking a long time ago. But now I must definitely have a cigarette because my nerves are getting the better of me. The English make a lot of mistakes, but still the war is progressing. I must have a chat and be thankful I'm not in Poland. Mr. Frank, this is how her dad reacts. Everything's all right. I don't require anything. Take it easy. We've ample time. Give me my potatoes and I will keep my mouth shut. Put some of my rations on one side for Ellie. The political situation is very promising. I'm extremely optimistic. And Mr. Dussel, the dentist. I must get my task for today. Everything must be finished on time. Political situation out scathing, and it is impossible that we'll be caught. I. Yours, Annie. Okay, so things are sounding a little bit somber and depressing, and they're very discouraged about the war. I'll read to you again tomorrow, and we'll read as much as we can this week to finish this book. All right, see you later, 5th grade.